Hello and welcome to another edition of Lives on Lockdown with me, Andrew Eborn. Hi, it's Andrew Eborn here again with another Lives on Lockdown. I'm going straight now to LA with Paul Roffman. How are you, Paul?
I'm good. I'm holding up here.
You're looking as though you're holding. You're looking very professional. Look at you with your headphones and your big microphone and cup. You know how to do this stuff, don't you?
Cup of tea.
A cup of tea. I'll tell you what. Look, there you go. This is the way to do it. You're in LA. You're about to go to bed. I'm about to. I never go to sleep anyway. But we're about to go.
It's my.
With Paul Roffman. Well, it's a joy to see you. Oh, what does it say? Oh, Paramount. Look at you showing off. Look at you, your Hollywood connections. We love it. How long has you moved to LA, all the way from London? And we met at the Magic Circle many, many moons ago. Talk to me about that journey.
Yes, that's caught me on the hop.
It's my job to keep you on the hop.
So I've always had a connection to LA since I was very young. We had an old second cousin once removed who lived here, and a few bits of family who we found. And I came here with my mum when I was about 3 years old, and I was going to turn myself down a little bit as I can hear myself very loudly.
That's what everybody says about me, you know, try to turn me down. Never works, so Paul, it never works.
I've got a mixing board, I can turn you down.
Oh, look at you, I tell you, this is so impressive. You're so LA, I love it. Here's me with my little hamster wheel churning around, and you got the whole, look at that. Oh, we're going to get music and everything. This is superb. What is it? Talk us through the kit.
Oh, I don't know if this will work, if you can hear. Can you hear that?
I can. Is that non-copyright music?
I guess it is. You get a little...
we don't want to be shut down, you know, you doing your radio show. You've got to get appropriate licenses. Me being a copyright lawyer and all that. It's very impressive. So you were 3 years old and your mother dragged you all the way to LA.
So I came here, and she, at that time, as she told me many times, we almost moved out here. We almost came to live here. And... but we didn't. She was wanting me to go to Westminster School, which I did, and get an education.
It's a great school. We looked at Westminster, around the corner from us. What age? Because they had the under school when you're just a wee one, and then they had the older one from 13. Which one did you go to?
I went to the under school, and then onto the great school, as it is known. And I had a great time. I got to be
at a great school. You've got to have a great time. That's
exactly.
Compulsory.
I got to do all the things I like to do, which was acting, music, art galleries. That's all I spent my time doing, just doing well enough so they didn't chuck me out. So so we came. I'd come to LA a lot. I always wanted to act. That was always my thing. I got into magic very late in life. I was about 33 when I got into magic. And
at that age, I mean, why would you suddenly at 33 get into magic? What was the catalyst for that?
Well, I kind of forgot that I loved magic as a kid, and obviously a Paul Daniels fan, as most Brits of my generation, and probably either side of my generation, were brought up with Paul Daniels. And I loved the show and loved seeing him I saw him live. And I did demo for Marvin's Magic.
Yay! Shout out for Marvin. I think if there isn't a magician who's a professional magician has not demoed for Marvin, they've missed out. The skills that you learn on doing the same trick thousands of times is invaluable, isn't it?
It was, for me, I thought it was a sales gig, but which is what they wanted me to be.
That's what Marvin wanted. He didn't want you to show off.
Marvin wanted. And I kind of wanted to do a bit more magic back then, but they had a few extra little tricks back in the day. And
what do you mean extra tricks? What were you doing? What extra tricks were you doing?
They used to have like a corporate executive set, which had some really very impressive little
I remember it came in a little like suitcase thing, didn't it?
That was right. That's right. It had some impressive coins, shall we say, without revealing anything.
Yes, well, as though you're an executive who comes with his normal size briefcase, but has a little magic one as well, which is really good for meetings. This is the sort of guy I want to do business with. He's got corporate magic.
Is that what you do, Andrew?
Corporate magic. I couldn't carry a briefcase. I don't carry a briefcase at all. I have people to carry things for me. It's much easier. It's really good.
Yeah, so that was one summer, I think, and sort of now I kind of regret I didn't do it longer. But yeah, so I went to drama school. I did 3 years at Mount View, acting in musical theatre, and from then, became an out of work actor, which was great fun.
Join the many thousands. You qualify, spent an absolute fortune, been to Westminster, thousands upon thousands of pounds. What did your parents say? No parents ever want their child to be an actor. What did they say to you?
Well, and very supportive. My mum was always happy. As long as I got an education, was happy and still is happy for me to do whatever I turn my hand to. And I'm a very determined person. I'm very committed in whatever I do. And I put a lot of effort into it. And so this connection to LA was there. And then oh yeah, that's right. I did a Midsummer Night's Dream at the in Barnes in the old sorting office. I played Oberon and Theseus, and I remember the Puck did a little magic trick, and he made a silk disappear.
Good old Puck.
And I thought, oh yeah, that reminds me of that. Oh, I'm going to have a look into this again. And I went down to Davenport's, which was a magic shop for the uninformed. It's no longer there, actually.
I know. I interviewed Betty on the very, very last day that she was there after being there for hundreds of years. And she's now gone online. She's still fighting strong. But so you went down to work out your Puck and you need a bit of assistance.
Yes. So I went into Davenport's and I said, what's the sort of stuff that, makes you a magician? I don't want to get these gimmicky things. I want the real hardcore stuff. And there was a fellow in there who said, oh, you should buy that pamphlet. It's a great pamphlet. I bought it the other day. And they asked me to do a trick in the pub the other day. And they paid me 250 quid. And I thought, wow, I could do that and probably better too. I only thought it. I didn't say it. And I bought the pamphlet. And it was a Roy Walton trick.
Ah, we love Roy Walton.
Yes.
Genius of his sort of stuff.
Genius. What's it called? When the card goes through the other card and turns.
Yeah, genius is what they call it.
That's what genius.
They love it.
And funnily enough, I've revisited that trick, and it's phenomenal. It's still phenomenal. One of the first tricks I learned as a pro, if you like, but it's still fantastic. And you kind of, when you revisit magic, you find out the things that first impressed you when you first saw it. And there's a reason for that usually. So, so then I decided to give myself a year and really dedicate myself to learning magic because I was already a performer. And I think that's a huge advantage. So I did. And I met a whole host of people. I think I met Max Somerset when in Davenport's actually with Christian Lee. Yes. That was early days. And then
I think they were doing the Sky series at that stage, weren't they? Is that?
Yes, I think they were either just doing it or just finishing it.
What was it called? It was like Mad Max or something useful like that.
Max Magic.
Well, Mad Max is much better. Max Magic. Come on. Mad Max, you've got to do it.
Back in the day, and magic wasn't popular on TV at that
time.
No,
you're right. And you had to have that sort of anarchic hue. You had the sort of Paul Zennons and there was a bit of a backlash against poor old Paul Daniels, who was brilliant. But you get new TV executives come in, and new TV executives who come in with new bright ideas, and they want to sort of revolutionize. Everybody wants a revolution when they try and do something new in a job. So absolutely, there wasn't that much. But Max, I remember on Sky, was doing some pretty way out there stuff. And Christian Lee, he did a little Swedish chap, I seem to remember, didn't he? It was sort of like a combination of the guys off the Muppets. You remember he had this Sven-type blonde wig, and it was quite anarchic. I love it. I love anarchic stuff. So that was good.
Yeah, they were going to go for a second season, and I think there was a takeover at Sky, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, the revolution again. I told you get the new people in. They want new stuff.
They want new stuff, yeah. And they didn't bring about any new stuff. They just got rid of whatever someone else had. So that was good, and I became fast friends with Max, who I think is a magic genius.
Another genius. I'd like to meet somebody who's either not an award-winning magician or a genius. I think there are no other types of magicians. I think it's wonderful.
Well, there's a lot who say they are.
Ah, that's what I thought. And some who believe their own publicity. They're always the fun ones, aren't they?
Yes, or they put it on their website when they haven't actually done anything. And unfortunately, I think that's happening more so now in this feeling of despair and desperateness. You're seeing a lot of people who are self-proclaiming themselves as award-winning or world-class magicians who have never been either of them. And that's bad because it's having a very negative effect when and there are magicians, and when I say Max is a genius magician, there are a handful that I would say that about. And for those who don't know, Max Somerset, he's such a creative creator of magic or magic premises and ideas, and he understands something that's really integral, which is narrative and storytelling within a trick, and how and finding those beats. And I directed a show of his at the Magic Circle quite a few years ago, and that was all about narrative. Amazing tricks, but really finding the narrative and the thread that hooks you on. And it had music, and it had him playing piano, and it had different lulls and different energies and different beats and different tensions, which is actually integral even in a magic trick. If you want to go even deeper into just what the trick is.
No, I've said this so often, Paul, is that it's essential. And a lot of people, and magic, sadly, is one of the easiest things to get into, because you can go along to Hamleys, wonderful salesmen such as yourself will sell you a few props, and you walk away with your little suitcase and you can do a trick. And the trouble is, you can do it straight away. You can do the magic bit of it, but you're missing the trick, so to speak. And the trick is, it is just the tool for your performance. And all of the other elements that you speak about directing a show and all the sort of elements about scripting and narrative, that's how you sell a trick, isn't it?
Absolutely. I came in LA, I met a wonderful magician and actor, a guy called Steve Valentine, who's not hugely well known in the UK, but is very well known out here. And he gets it. He's another one who gets it. He's British as well, which probably helps, but there are a few Americans
they like the accent over there, don't they? They still like the accent. James is doing well, James Corden, and they were telling me, I had the head of BAFTA LA, Chantal Ricard. She was on the show very recently, and she was telling me the British actors, there really has been the invasion of the Brits. They love you, don't they?
I'm hoping that in the post-COVID world they will. I was the PC world. The PC-19 world. I had a very useful audition with a voiceover agency here the day before the lockdown. Or literally, it was the day when they started working remotely. And I went into the studio and I recorded all these commercials and characters.
You purred at them in that British voice.
And everything stopped. And everyone's left. I mean, not everyone's left, but most internationals have returned home, especially if they're not on a green card or any resident type work visa, because you're going to be in trouble here. So, yeah, so sort of backtracking how I got to LA, I really focused on magic for a long time and turned it into a business and became quite successful in London and the UK, doing magic and doing events. And actually, when I started magic, it would have been around 2006. Does that make sense? 2005, 2006.
You were 33 then, weren't you?
I was 33, yeah. Is that right? Something like that. I've lost count.
Well, I know more about your life than you do, Paul. Are you going to test me on this later?
Yes.
I think you went to Westminster School, didn't you?
Yeah.
Your parents were in LA. You left when you were 3.
No, my parents weren't in LA. My parents were London. My dad was an East End originally, a genuine.
Oh, was he? Was he a real East Ender? Was he from the sound of Bow Bells?
Born in Luton.
Luton.
within the sound of bow bells. He lived in
Oh,
Albert
Luton. You mean
Square.
Loughton? You mean Loughton?
No, sorry. He lived in Albert Square.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you want. A real EastEnders.
He was a real EastEnder, and he played football for Spurs when he was
Oh,
young.
did he?
Yeah.
Oh, which position?
He was a forward.
A forward. Rather like
Forward,
you.
as
And
they
what did
call it.
so? What was his name? What is his
Barry,
name?
he's not with us anymore, but Barry Roffman.
Barry Rothman. So all the Spurs fans are going to go, Barry. So, did you go and see him play?
No, it was before my time. And there was no money. Anything went into the fashion business. And my mum and dad were divorced from when I was very young. So my mum brought me up, and she's still with us and doing very well. And she became a financial advisor, and she's incredibly supportive in everything that I do.
Oh, that's good. What financial advice would she give you as an actor?
Yeah, what would she give me? That's a good question. You've stumped me there.
Twice. Twice, and we've only just started.
I know. I never think about that sort of thing. I just sort of get on with it, because if I actually analyzed my journey, I would never take the journey. My journey's been, it wouldn't be a business plan in Dragon's Den. They'd say, "Where's your plan? Where's your business plan?" And I say, "Well, I'm just going to do it."
Yeah, but can actors and those in the profession ever have a business plan? I mean, you can talk about, you've got to advertise, you've got to get out and market, but having a business plan, other than you've got to get in front of people and do more of the same, because the more you perform, the more people see you and the more they like you, hopefully.
Yeah. I suppose you need a plan in terms of how you're going to sustain yourself. And that was, very fortunate when magic came about, because magic gave me a door into actually earning some money and being self-sufficient rather than just in debt. And I started magic during the crash, which would have been
good time to start anything.
Yes, so 2007, 2008. And I had aimed for the corporate market. I built myself up as a corporate magician, not a wedding magician. And of course, the only market that maintained during that period was the wedding market, not the corporate market. So fortunately, I was used to not having money. And, I got through that, which is a good lesson for getting through this. And magic sort of took over. And then I had to put, I was sort of juggling trying to get acting work and magic work, but magic work was prevalent. And I was getting some really good events and traveling. And
what sort of events? What's a good event? What would you classify as good?
Well, my favorite events were and are corporate events. I enjoy the rigor of them. I enjoy the challenge of them.
So for those who don't know, what would a corporate event be? Give me an example of something you would be required to do and what you would do.
So I've got so many rude moments that happen.
We like rude moments. We'll go for it. We had what I loved is yesterday we had a comedian from Cairo who I have to put the normal warnings up for appropriate language. So because of the medium that we're in, we can put appropriate warnings, but rude moments are good. We can do this version.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, the corporate market would be banks and insurance companies, and any companies that have many employees. And quite often they're drunk, or quite often they, if you go over to a group of employees at an event and they're having a drink, they go, "Who the fuck are you?" And as a skilled magician, especially in the UK market, I think you learn how to deal with that, and you learn how to be. If you're funny, if you've got a comedic brain, it goes down well. And quite often you banter back, let's put it that way.
So what would your banter back be? You go to those drunk people, they're all there, you're interrupting their evening, you want to show them a card trick, they last
someone tells me to fuck off. Is that for all of, do you all want me to fuck off? Because I'm going to do some magic. So is it just him who wants me to fuck off, or all of you? I'm improvising now. And then I might do something very visual. And they'll go, "Ooh, over here," and him over here might be the cantankerous one. And I say, "You know what? How about you don't watch? I'm going to show your friends. You can stand over there. Just turn around, all right? And then, and it's actually about audience management. And it's kind of like the guy goes, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. When you start doing magic, you're thinking, oh, do they know what I'm doing? Oh my God. And as you get more experienced, 90% don't know what you're doing. 10% might know what you're doing. It may be because you're doing it badly. And if you're doing it badly, well, that's not good. But quite often it's, Mr. Smartass who just wants to be the alpha male. And you learn how to put them down. You learn how to, I've said many the wrong thing, but I do it with a charming grin and a smile, and I get away with it. And usually you can turn them around to your to your tricks and effects. And I'm just remembering a party. It was a Christmas party, and it was in Piccadilly somewhere in London. And I'm in a bar, and the boss says, go and show that guy over there a magic trick. He loves magic. And there's one guy sitting by the bar on his own. So, okay. So I go over to this guy and I go, hi, I'm Paul. I'm the magician. Can I show you a trick? And he went, will you just fuck off? Oh, okay. He just asked me to, oh, what? It was Tom over there asked you to come over. Yeah. Well, he can fuck off too. I've been made redundant. And I was like, okay, sorry, I was just asked to. You know what? I'll be over there. If you do want to see something, give me a shout. Thanks. And the boss was laughing his head off. So that can be a challenging corporate environment.
But I mean, what a horrible thing to do. I mean, apart from send a magician over after you've given them bad news. But what it is. It's like teasing them, isn't it? And I think there's those sort of elements. I mean, you said though, Paul, that you said you found some mechanisms as a result of your experience, which others might benefit from. What would you say your top tips would be for dealing with those sort of situations?
Well, it depends on you. I mean, I don't think there's a guidebook to it, unfortunately. And it depends.
Not yet written, but the Paul Roffman guidebook to dealing with difficult situations will be.
Well, I am and have written some stuff about performing and performance, and I think experience, and it's a terrible thing, but you have to fall flat on your face. You have to make mistakes, and you have to get it wrong, and you have to recognize that on top of that. And it helps if you work with really good people. So if you have the opportunity to work with a bunch of magicians, I mean, I saw, Faye Presto. Faye took me to, I saw her perform at Langan's, and just watch her and just watch how she deals with people, how she goes about it. And she always told me, when you put someone down, when you go in for the slap shot and you come back with the retort, you never go and pick them up again. And that's true. That's true. Working with, I've got great mates in magic. I've worked corporate gigs with Paul Martin and trying to think who else now. Lots and lots of people. But, working with Paul was always good because he was a bit experienced and streetwise and street savvy. And actually, I would say my top tip for magicians is watch films, go to art galleries, listen to music. Don't be a magician. Get away from the being the magician part of it. And that's not to say you don't have to be very skilled, and you should be technically proficient, and you should have an understanding for the history of magic and for where it comes from. But learn these other arts and the allied arts and sciences and have something to say, because quite often at an event, it's not about doing 10 tricks in 2 minutes. It's about doing one trick. And quite often people will say, oh, how did you get into magic? Oh, wow, that's amazing. The answer is not another trick. The answer is being human. The answer is rapport. The answer is listening to what's going on.
You're absolutely right. And we've often said this and touched on this earlier, is that if you're engaging and people want to hear you, you're going to get rid of the people who just want to challenge you. If you go off and just show off and watch me, aren't I clever? It's a challenge to people, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And listen, there are people who get away with it. There are people who get millions of followers on Instagram by doing terrible magic.
Who are they? Name
and
names.
Terrible tricks. You want me to name names?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'll think about it.
Well, no, I mean, but interesting. I mean, you say because in the current situation, they don't have the live audiences that they have to do. They have to resort to this media. So they're doing stuff on Instagram. People are giving away tricks to the extent that it's just tricks and it's just like baked beans and off you go. It's all disposable. Mm-hmm. Working out what makes a good magician and a bad one is interesting. You don't have to name names, but you can give examples of what makes them bad. And if they've got millions of followers, why does it matter?
Well, maybe it doesn't. I mean, there's a well-known magician, and I use the word in inverted commas. I'm not going to name him, but he has done really remarkably well, and good luck to him. Brilliant. What he actually achieved is excellent, and through hard work and determination, creating that social media buzz. But unfortunately, the other stuff is lacking. Now, that's only me saying it. So does that matter if you've got 4 million followers or 10 million followers or whatever it is you need to have? Who am I to say that's not good or right? I'm not. I have a certain standard that I think is worthy, and I think it differentiates what is good and bad, and that's the standard that I believe is important. A lot of people obviously don't, and they have nothing to measure it by. And that's fine. And that is just my opinion of it. But there are others now. There was a bit of controversy recently with a magic club and a magician. I'm skirting around.
Well, stop skirting. This is not like you at all. I don't have people coming on here and skirting. Look at you, confess to it. It's like. The good thing, I don't talk. I think the good thing about this is people learn as a result of people talking. I think anybody listening to this, because what it then does is gives a chance to air your views. I can put the opposite view to make sure it's balanced. But I think on that sort of basis, don't skirt. Go for it.
Yeah, but there's another balance that we have to think about, and that's with names and calling out people specifically, publicly, is, the reasons for some people doing it are not just about publicity now. It's maybe about their mental health. It's maybe about surviving in this time. It's maybe about giving them something to do.
Yeah, and I think you can talk about the generalities, because a lot of people won't know that to the general people watching, the majority of my 2 viewers, they've probably never heard of the name.
There'll be 3 now.
There'll be 3 now. Your mum will be watching.
It's
lovely. Hello, mum. It's going to be good. The 3 viewers watching, the names will be meaningless. It's more about the principle.
Frozen at an opportune moment there.
Exactly. So performers in this time and everything else need to do that. What we're going to do, I think you're disappearing. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back where Paul Roffman won't be skirting around here. He's telling us a little bit more. Join us after this.